So, man, these past couple weeks have been nothing but problem after problem after problem, and nothing has gone smoothly. And this one is another one, although it's not quite as bad, but still, it's not a straightforward deal. So we have got two graphs up here, and this one is what a factory car makes. So that would be anything that's like a Scat Pack. Any manual transmission Scat Pack, the graph is going to look like this. It's going to be about 450 horsepower on our dyno. This is what this car is making. We made 2 hits to confirm, and you can even see out here, it's got this weird dip. Throttle stayed wide open. Timing was the same between the two cars. Fueling is different, which is strange. We thought that was strange. Timing is the same. Injectors are the same. I mean, they're the same milliseconds. Excuse me, they're opening the same amount of time. So why are the graphs so different? Why is the power so different? And this difference here is 50 horsepower. So from this point on, it's down 50 horsepower. And I suppose if you didn't do a lot of these, you may just proceed and go, all right, that's what this car makes. Because it's not like it's making 200 horsepower, you know, it's not down that much. But this is kind of, there's nothing different between these cars. All these cars on the manual transmission Scat Packs, they're all going to make 450, 455 on our dyno. We've had a couple a little bit higher, but they'll have like an intake on it or something like that. They'll be like 460 or whatever. So they're all the same. So what is different about this one? It appears to be completely stock. Well, I guess I should say this. What do you guys think is the problem? What do you think it is? So it's completely stock. And a little, I guess, backstory on the car. It used to be a narrow body. They had it at a body shop to get the wide body put on. And so the first thing, and we looked at the PCM. It is a factory unopened PCM. There's no sign of it having to be closed back up. I guess it's got a catch can, so it's not completely stock. And it does look like it has a mid-muffler delete. But other than that, stock. So the first thing I did was think, oh man, well, the whole engine bay, I guess you can't see it on camera, is covered in like dust from like sanding. So I popped the air filter out to think maybe it was full of crud from driving around in a body shop, and it's perfectly clean, so that wasn't it. Again, timing is the same, fueling is the same. I'm sorry, injectors are the same. The fueling is different for whatever reason. Throttle stays open the whole time. So the tune is correct. The tune is doing the job that it's supposed to do. The car is just down 50 horsepower. I noticed that while the car was running up that it sounded raspier than normal, but I don't usually pay too much attention to that. I mean, people put all these different mid-mufflers on them, and I don't know which ones sound which way. All I can tell is that it has mid-mufflers on it, just by peeking under it. So I'm not totally sure what they are, but it sounds raspier. But then I thought, I wonder if these guys mess with the valves, the active exhaust valves. And sure enough, you can see that they are not plugged in. Now it looks like it's plugged in, but that's just like a dummy plug. The actual plug, I don't know if I can see it on camera, is somewhere up higher, zip tied up. So someone's been in here. And I was like, I wonder if they pinned them. And sure enough, can we see it on camera? They did. It's probably really hard to see. Come on. You can see the wire hanging down. They like used like metal, so like stainless zip ties that you get with heat wrap kits. And they tied the valves in a position, and I will bet you that they tied them in the wrong position. I bet you they tied them closed instead of open, and that's why it sounds raspier. That's why it's down 50 horsepower, and that's why the fueling is different, even though the tune is giving it the same amount of fuel. So thankfully this one isn't that bad. Obviously we haven't confirmed it, but when I get it up in the air, I will confirm it. But I'm quite sure that that's the problem. It has to be an airflow issue in or out of the engine because the tune is the same. It's the stuff you run into, man. And I'm so glad that we do a lot of these because we wouldn't really know otherwise. And the downside is we're not changing the exhaust on this car. So we would do all of our modifications and the car would still be down 50 horsepower or more. It would probably be down more horsepower compared to what another cam car should be. And we would have no idea what was going on, and we'd probably have to spend a lot of time figuring it out. But thankfully, we're blessed with the amount of work that we have, that we've done so many of these cars that we can identify that real quick and fix it and move on. But that's just crazy. I haven't seen that one yet. I've seen a lot of people do funky stuff with those active valves back there, and we usually don't, just because it's unnecessary. But that's a first. Have not seen that one yet, but thankfully, that's probably the problem. I'll confirm it once we get it up, but we should see a factory hit like that. Now, we're not going to put it back on the dyno if we find that those are in the wrong order, but basically I have a section of pipe that has that valve in it, and I just keep it for whenever I do weld these in the open position, because I check to make sure that it's the right position before I go and weld them in that position, because you can't really tell which is open and which is closed. There's no way to see down through the exhaust. So at one point in time, I just cut one of the valves out of a car that we didn't need anymore, or the exhaust was damaged or something, and that's my reference. So we'll use that as the reference to see if these are in the right position, and if they're not, we'll weld them open and proceed. But just thought I'd share that with you guys. So we'll get this off and have a look. All right, so we're on the underside of the blue car. Before I get to taking anything apart, I wanted to have a look at these exhaust valve or actuators and see where we're at. So I've already unbolted it. You can see what I meant before about it's just like a dummy plug. The factory plug is zip tied up here, which seems common to do. Now, we don't really delete these unless they start squeaking or lock up, which we've seen happen. So we'll just go and weld it in the open direction. But so they've taken the spring out, which is fine, and wired it in that position. It has some movement. Oh, it's kind of like in the middle, isn't it? It's not open or closed. So that's where it was. That's one direction, and that's the other. So it was kind of like in the middle. But anyway, let's see. So here's my test piece, or my template. And this, yeah. So right now it's closed, opened. So when it is, the pins are in this direction, it's in the closed position. So this one was actually about halfway, not fully closed. I'll have to check the tape, but I think it was somewhere around there, but pretty much closed. Not open, certainly. This one I haven't unbolted yet, but I'll take it out right now. We'll see. So we know that when they're sitting like that, it's in the closed position. Let's see if it can move at all. It can move a teeny little bit. It moved a little teeny bit, but it was like there. And that's closed. So yeah, that was the problem. That's open. Cool. So if you ever wanted to know how much horsepower this robs as opposed to that, on a factory Scat Pack, about 50 horsepower at the top. There you go. Be sure to do this right when you do it, and don't do it like this. I don't know if they buzzed into the closed position or they were put in the closed position and then wired up. Who knows? This is not the right way to do it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do just yet. Maybe find some springs and put it all back to stock, because there's no reason to do this anyway. I'll ask the customer what he wants to do, but normally I'll just weld those into the open position. So interesting.